if you look at any given industry and you say, okay, this company's the best, right? In this case, like let's just say in insulated drinkware, let's say Yeti's the best company in this industry. And they're really great at what they do. Their greatness is also their weakness. And here's what I mean by that. Great companies focus on certain ways of doing things. They have very defined strategies about here are the price points we want to be at. Here's the distribution strategy that we want to take. Here's what we're not going to play in. And so what makes them great is actually having a real focus on doing business a particular type of way when it comes to their holistic strategy. When you look at that, it's easy to be intimidated by what they do well and say, I could never go up against that. That would be suicidal. But if you invert that and you say, what are the things that by definition they don't want to do and where they don't want to compete? And is there an opportunity for me there? A lot of times you see, hey, there's actually a lot of white space kind of hiding in plain sight. And so a great example in our industry were there were several really premium brands. Hydro Flask would be another great example, which were great brands, but they were really focused on specialty retail or growing their own website. They were not as focused on the Targets and Walmarts of the world or growing their Amazon business. And as a result, that left an opportunity for us to get in there and get a foothold.
That's cool. I was just thinking about like a Venn diagram in my mind of like if you're analyzing a market and a company being like they don't want to play in that space. But what if, like my first thought is, okay, is that enough of a moat though when creating a company saying, okay, they don't want to be at the Targets and the Walmarts. My first thought is they can probably if they wanted to, they're just, or Amazon, like anyone can go on there and probably crush it really quickly. Like how do you think about, yes, it's a white space and it's enough to have a moat that a bigger incumbent can't just come in and, take it over because of that?
It's a great question. And I think it's two parts. I think that you have to, number one, say, is there a way to get initial traction and to find the initial white space? And then is there some kind of a plan where I could protect that? Because if so, then the first isn't helpful without the latter, right? And we've seen a lot of this in the digital landscape where it's like, yeah, this works for 6 months or 9 months, but it's not defensible for 6 years. And I'm not really interested in building a company that like I'm going to put in a lot of hard work and then I'm just going to watch it kind of slip through my fingers. So we've approached this in a number of different ways. One of the ways we've approached it is we have a significant part of our portfolio that's licensing, and licensing is kind of a naturally moated space where only a certain number of people are licensed and they're given kind of exclusive distribution. So that would be an example of a moat. Another moat is scale, actually. But what we really came to was the moat has to be brand. It has to be brand in a space, a commoditized space like hydration. And we are going to have to figure out how to build really high brand loyalty and brand affinity. Early on in the company, there's a show in Chicago called the International Home Houseware Show. And most of the major brands, especially like physical retail brands, go to the show. And the focus of the first show we went to was actually hydration, even though it was a houseware show. And I remember just being overwhelmed by the number of companies in our space. And we had like, rinky-dink little booth. The other companies had these like massive booths they'd spent all this money on. And it highlighted to me how undercapitalized we were and how many other competitors there were. And I remember really distinctly at the end of one of the days, I pulled the team together and I said, listen, guys, it's very simple. This logo on our cup is worth something, or we're toast. That's it, and it highlighted that fact to me that you have to be building a moat through brand, because in most consumer products, there's not a structural way to protect the business outside of some things like licensing. So that's been a huge focus as well for us. We find it when we can. We find the moats that we can based on, how we price our products or the type of distribution we have. But then we put a ton of emphasis on, once we get customers, how do we keep them Simple Modern customers, make sure that they're delighted with buying from the company? How do we build the brand awareness and brand equity?
Hey, thanks for watching. This segment was made possible by our friends at Salesforce Commerce Cloud. If you're looking for the #1 platform for all your commerce needs, go check out salesforce.com/commerce. And don't forget to subscribe below and tap that little bell icon so you can stay on top of all the amazing new segments and full episodes that we'll be putting out over the coming year with some of the best and most influential commerce leaders out there.